What is it about abandoned places that pulls us in? Maybe it's the glimpse they give us into a world left behind. Maybe it's the eerie, quiet beauty they seem to gather once people disappear. Or maybe it's the way they linger in our minds, mysterious and haunting. We're not exactly sure. All we know is we're totally obsessed, and we never get tired of hearing their stories. That's why we're so thrilled to share this video with you. So sit back, grab some Doritos, and let's look at 15 of the most amazing abandoned objects and places that really exist in our own world. Number 15. Apple Valley Dinosaur Park. In the 1970s, Lonnie Kaufman had a prehistoric, bizarre idea: build a dinosaur park in Apple Valley, California. No theme park experience, no planning background, just a dream. His buddy Gregory Elwaker, a former Air Force vet, signed on to help. Neither knew how to make concrete sculptures, but they gave it a shot anyway. They slapped together about 30 dinosaurs using rebar, chicken wire, and a whole lot of guesswork. The results were pretty rough. Some figures were missing limbs, others leaned at awkward angles. The park never opened, and no tickets have been sold. Eventually, the dinosaurs started falling apart, chunks of concrete crumbling away to reveal hollow insides. Those empty bellies became homes for bees, wasps, and even snakes. The land's been untouched since, a broken playground of faded ambition. There's no real sign, no official fence, just a ghost project, still sitting in the dust, waiting to be either cleaned up or forgotten totally. Either would be better than this slow fade into nothing. Number 14. Slapnik. In the wine-rich hills of Slovenia's Brda region, there's a village called Slapnik that hasn't heard a human voice in decades. Once home to around 80 people scattered across 17 houses, this place slowly faded from the map without any single moment of collapse. Just time doing its quiet work. As residents passed away or moved out, nobody came to take their place. The final families are believed to have left soon after Slovenia became independent in 1991. Now nature's taken over, vines curling through doorways, windows swallowed by leaves. In 2018, Slapnik almost got a brief revival when the BBC considered filming a reality series there, but the project never took off. That left the village untouched, resting in stillness. Its stone walls and overgrown paths sit frozen like a snapshot of rural life that slipped through the cracks. It's not just abandoned. It's suspended like the world gave up on it, and in return, it quietly stood still. Number 13. Samazzano Castle. In Tuscany, Samazzano Castle should have been the crown jewel of luxury. Instead, it's slowly sinking into disrepair. There's been a grand building on this land since 1605, first built by a Spanish noble, but the striking structure seen today was reshaped in 1853 by Ferdinando Panciatici Ximenes d'Aragona, who spent 4 decades molding it into his fantasy. Elaborate arches, hand-painted ceilings, and Moorish revival designs, not an inch left ordinary. He didn't get to enjoy it for long. After his death, Samazzano turned into a 5-star hotel that held on through most of the 20th century. But by the 1990s, the cost of keeping it running outweighed the few guests still checking in. Since then, every year has brought promises of renovation that never materialized. Time keeps crawling, but nothing changes. The castle just sits there, silent, surreal, forgotten by the same world that once called it a marvel. What remains is a masterpiece locked behind rusted gates and legal dead ends. But anyway, this casualty looks super beautiful. Number 12. ROT 54. ROT 54, or the Hiruni Mirror Radio Telescope, was supposed to be Armenia's moonshot. A radio telescope built atop Mount Aragats in the 1970s, named after physicist Paris Hiruni. Its dish spans 177 feet, designed to listen to the universe at 300 gigahertz. If it had worked, it would have been the most powerful of its kind. But things unraveled. Construction dragged on for over a decade. A devastating earthquake in 1988 wrecked early progress. When scientists finally restarted work, plans had shifted. Route 54 would now serve as an astronomical telescope, but converting it proved a nightmare. Mechanical failures piled up, the control arm of the secondary mirror gave out in 2012, and by then, faith in the project had withered. The site remains beautiful, perched above Armenia's highlands, but it's a monument to might-have-beens. It was never fully operational. A billion-dollar ear to the stars, silenced before it could hear a thing. Today, it's just a shell with a view, a ghost of science too ambitious for its time. Number 11. Staten Island Boat Graveyard. The Staten Island Boat Graveyard isn't on any tour map, but every local knows where it is. Dozens of old tugboats, ferries, and barges sit half-submerged in the Arthur Kill waterway, rusting where they were left. Originally, this was the site of the Witta Marine Equipment Company, a salvage yard tasked with breaking down out-of-service vessels. At its peak, over 200 ships were dragged in to be dismantled. But when the company folded in the 1980s, the work stopped mid-process. Nobody stepped in. What's left now is a mess of hollowed hulls and decaying wood, surrounded by still water and silence. Stripped of any value years ago, these boats serve no purpose. You won't find engines, wiring, or even bolts inside, just rotting frames and salt-stained memories. Some are barely afloat, others fully swallowed by the tide. Authorities have done nothing. Maybe they're hoping nature will take care of the cleanup. It might. Eventually. Until then, this forgotten fleet just drifts in place, going nowhere. Number 10. Smmy Air Base. Smmy Air Base isn't marked by plaques or preserved displays, but it once bristled with Cold War tension. Located on Sakhalin Island, its name comes from a nearby village 2 miles away. Like many Soviet military sites, its history is mostly pieced together from satellite photos and declassified notes. The first confirmed sighting came in 1962, an airstrip measuring 2,000 meters, later extended by another 500. By the mid-60s, Yak-28P firebars were stationed here. In the 1970s, that list expanded to include An-24 Cope transporters and Lisanov Li-2 aircraft. By the 1980s, MiG-23 interceptors had arrived. The Soviets buried much of the base underground. Some of those tunnels still hold decaying aircraft. It likely closed down with the USSR's collapse in 1991. Now the runways are cracked, the hangars are silent, and rusted jets sit half-hidden by weeds. It's not a museum. No one guards or protects it. In fact, no one clears the overgrowth. It's a forgotten launch pad for a military machine that simply no longer exists. Number 9. Derelict Soviet Spa Town. Once, the Soviet Union's elite spa town, Tskhaltubo, was where luxury and ideology shook hands. Starting in the 1920s, it became a showcase for mineral springs and radon water therapy, attracting up to 4 trainloads of people per day from Moscow alone. Some came for wellness. Others came because the government told them to. The rest was mandatory in the Soviet playbook. Stalin even had a private bathhouse built here. But when the USSR crumbled in the early 90s, so did Tskhaltubo's purpose. The town was abandoned practically overnight. Then, war refugees from Abkhazia arrived, temporarily reviving the dead sanatoriums into shelters. For a while, 8,000 people lived in buildings that once housed the Soviet elite. Now silence again. Tskhaltubo's faded grandeur still lingers. Peeling murals, shattered tiles, bathtubs built for propaganda and pride. And though it stands eerily intact, it's been forgotten by the world that once swore by its waters. It's a ghost resort draped in memories nobody wants to claim. Number 8. Highleberg Thinga. Just look at that. It's so beautiful and strange, isn't it? High above the city of Heidelberg sits a forgotten amphitheater built for propaganda, not performances. The Highleberg Thinga was one of nearly 45 such sites constructed across Nazi Germany between 1934 and 1936, pushed heavily by Joseph Goebbels. His dream, to link nationalist ideology with ancient Germanic traditions by placing these venues on sacred or historic ground. The opening event drew 20,000 people. After that, interest evaporated. The regime hoped these theaters would become pilgrimage sites for the Nazi movement. Instead, the public barely showed up. Eventually, the Heidelberg stage became just another public park. Today, the structure is still there, massive, overgrown, mostly ignored. The stone seating is cracked. Moss climbs the steps. Tourists sometimes stumble upon it, but locals don't pay much attention. Germany has little appetite for revisiting fascist theatrics. What was meant to be a rallying point for ideology is now a stone relic of bad planning and even worse intentions, quiet, forgotten, and fading into the hillside. Number 7. Copel Javangis. In Breda, a circular structure known as the Copel Javangis, aka the Dome Prison, stands as one of the most distinctive prisons ever constructed in Europe. Built in 1886, its name translates to home prison, but its layout was inspired by something far more calculated, the panopticon model. From the center of its dome, guards had a full view of every inmate in every cell, a setup meant to enforce order by constant visibility. This prison wasn't just functional, it became a symbol. After World War II, Dutch collaborators with the Nazis were sent here. In 2001, it was declared a national monument, a rare honor for a still active prison. Not long after, changes in the justice system, budget cuts and population shifts led to its conversion into a women-only facility. But by 2013, it shut down entirely. Today, it only opens for temporary events or exhibitions. Most of the time, though, its cells sit untouched, an empty shell of control, still echoing with everything it once contained. Number 6. Costa Concordia. The Costa Concordia didn't sink because of failure, it sank because of pride. On January 13, 2012, the $600 million luxury cruise ship struck rocks near Isola del Giglio. Not because it was faulty, but because Captain Francesco Schettino decided to steer dangerously close to shore to impress onlookers. But he was totally wrong. The stunt cost 32 lives. Schettino was later convicted and sentenced for manslaughter, causing a shipwreck and abandoning ship. After being refloated, the wreck was dragged to Genoa, where most people forgot it even existed. But it's still there. The once glamorous vessel now rots quietly, stripped and fading, yet hauntingly recognizable. Inside, twisted chandeliers and gutted halls echo with what used to be decadence. Urban explorers with grit have sneaked in to photograph the decay. One final voyage into a luxury liner's slow collapse. The ship won't sail again. It'll be scrapped piece by piece, but until then, it looms in limbo, as if waiting for one last apology that'll never come. Number 5. Essex County Jail. Essex Jail stood for over a century, opening its iron doors in 1837 and finally closing them in 1970. By then, it was the oldest surviving government structure in the USA. Bid to preserve it came in 1991, but years of abandonment had already gutted its insides. Once, it was considered modern, equipped with courtyards, garden paths, and even a greenhouse, all built to encourage inmates to reform through routine and exposure to beauty. Guards placed these areas within plain sight of the cell blocks to spark good behavior. That hope faded fast. After the prison shut down, it became a shelter of another kind. Homeless individuals moved in, seeking warmth and cover inside collapsing cell walls and shattered skylights. The roof sagged, floors buckled, but still the building refused to fall. Today, it's a husk, crumbling but clinging on. Not a single effort to revive or restore it has worked. Just empty corridors, broken glass, and the sound of nothing. Number 4. Former Veterinary School. Tucked away in Anderlecht lies a forgotten veterinary school that feels more like a horror set than a relic of education. When the school relocated in 1991, someone left behind more than furniture. Rows of dusty shelves still hold preserved animal specimens, deformed, dissected, and floating in murky yellow liquids. Some jars have cracked open, others have no lids at all. What's left smells like rotting formaldehyde and mildew, a stench so intense it's been compared to a hot sewer on a windless summer day. For decades, the building's been wide open, and thrill-seeking urban explorers have wandered through its decaying halls, documenting the chaos. The glass cabinets are fogged with grime. Mold clings to the walls. Nobody cleaned up. Nobody locked the doors. City officials haven't made any real move to secure or demolish it, leaving the building to quietly rot. It's not a haunted house, but it doesn't need ghosts. The leftovers inside do enough of the haunting on their own. Number 3. Boryakivka, Ukraine. After Chernobyl went nuclear in 1986, the disaster's fallout didn't stop at the exclusion zone. Cleanup efforts created another problem. Radioactive machines, trucks, cranes, fire engines, anything used in that response got soaked in radiation, with no plan to decontaminate them. Officials made a decision. Dump them. A sleepy Ukrainian village called Boryakivka, just 40 miles from the blast site, became the graveyard. Residents were evacuated. Their homes were overtaken not by nature, but by metal husks. At first, machinery was buried in pits, but as the crisis dragged on, they were simply abandoned on streets and fields. For nearly a decade, Boryakivka became a nuclear junkyard. Many of those vehicles still hum with radiation, though not as lethal as during the 80s and 90s. The place remains locked to civilians, officially for the next 300 years. What used to be a village is now a radioactive time capsule, not frozen in time, but scorched into it. Number 2. Holloway Prison. Holloway wasn't just another prison, it was history written in bricks. Built in 1852, it started as a mixed-gender lockup, but pivoted in 1902 to become the UK's first women-only prison. For over a century, it held stories darker than its walls. Suffragettes staging hunger strikes, notorious killers like Myra Hindley and Rose West, and even Nazi sympathizer Diana Mosley during wartime. By 2015, the government abruptly decided to shut it down. Inmates were quietly moved out, and by July 2016, its doors closed for good. 3 years later, Peabody bought the site for $112 million with plans to turn the infamous grounds into 1,000 homes. The prison still stands, untouched by bulldozers, locked in limbo between the past and someone's ambitious vision of the future. The site remains strangely quiet, its grim past sealed behind bars that haven't seen life in years. No demolition, no revival, just a landmark waiting, not for justice this time, but gentrification. Number 1. Jazzland de Six Flags, New Orleans. Jazzland barely had time to figure itself out before nature and finances pulled the plug. It opened in 2000 in New Orleans, but struggled from the start. In 2003, Six Flags stepped in, rebranded it, and began upgrades. But they never got the chance to see a return. Hurricane Katrina hit in August 2005 and flooded the entire park, destroying everything they'd built. After pouring in $20 million with no payout, Six Flags cut its losses. Since then, the gates have stayed locked. Rides sit frozen mid-loop, water-stained decorations collapse under their own weight. Urban explorers keep sneaking in, snapping photos of rusted roller coasters and broken signs still clinging to their branding. It's been years since anyone tried to demolish it. The city floats plans, but nothing happens. The longer it stands, the more it feels like a time capsule from the early 2000s, except one left to rot. What should have been a vibrant destination is now a sun-bleached carcass of corporate misfire and bad timing. We really hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more awesome content like this. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you soon in the next one.